Hello, our guests. It's us again. Thank you for joining us. Juan Reed, Solomon Tabe, and Miss Courtney Kelly are joining us. Um, we're excited to talk this week. The conversation. I hate to say it, has been all over the place, but I believe that um, cultivating the minds of people and giving them some direction on what we're doing or insight is a good concept. Today we have a special guest, Miss Courtney, um, and I'm going to let Miss Courtney tell you about herself. But first of all, I gotta swoon a little bit and say that Miss Courtney is somebody that as a young lady I admire as a young construction person. I was a construction manager. I've been involved in construction, project management, project development, and now development for 36 years. I've been on job sites since I was 6 years old. My dad was a contractor. I worked for several large companies and owned at one time the largest construction management company in the city of Houston. I'm proud of that notoriety because nobody has had that station since. I will say that Miss Courtney is one of the preeminent idealists for construction in the city of Dallas, and she works for, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney, the oldest construction management company, black-owned construction management company in the U.S. Is that
Yeah, I'm
correct?
not sure we're the oldest, but we're up there. Over
Okay,
70 years.
okay. Well, I will say this. It's at one time a company that H.J. Russell, Thacker, and Mr. Moody. At one time, our company in Houston was just about to go into the Black Business Magazine alongside them. So I'm proud of that as well. But we just didn't make it. And so, uh, again, I'm swooning again because the things that I see this young lady do in the construction community makes me excited because, the way she does it with class and dignity, great insight, no presumptuousness, uh, is to me amazing. And I don't think I've ever told her all this to her face, but I'm telling it to her. It amazes me. So, again, she works for the largest, I know it's that, the largest construction management, black owned construction management company in the U.S. and I believe the world. I've been all over and I've never seen a black owned construction company built like Russell. And look, I've been everywhere. The way you guys are structured is how I wanted to structure my organization in order to keep it growing. But unfortunately, it just didn't get in there. So I'll allow Courtney to introduce herself. We have some questions for her, but I'll allow her to introduce herself. Go ahead, Courtney.
Well, thanks so much, Vaughn. Appreciate your sentiments. I know you're like one of my biggest fans. So I'm Courtney Kelly. If you happen to call me Kelly or Celeste, even, that's fine. People know me for one of two things, either from my background in construction. As Juan alluded to, I'm a construction project director for H.J. Russell, currently based in Dallas, Texas. Or people know me as a children's book author. I'm the self-published author of two children's books, Celeste Saves the City and Celeste Tunnels on the Ground, which are both centered on construction and getting more people who look like me into our industry. I graduated from SMU. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I'll say all four degrees, but I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, one in math, a master's degree in civil engineering with a concentration in structures from SMU. I also have a MBA from Lamar University, and I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Texas.
Wow. Okay. Well, very impressive. Very impressive. You did brag on yourself. I
People
like
ask,
that.
so
And so you look, you almost did a better job than I did. So look, I want to introduce you guys all to my co-host. You know him; he's world renowned in everything. Mr. Solomon Tabe. Solomon, tell everybody about you.
Man, at this point, I don't even know what to say, because I'm here, and both of y'all are here when it comes to development. So look, I'm speechless. But Courtney, it's nice to meet you. I've heard some incredible things as you stated, Mr. Reed has stated. Solomon Tabe here, one of Mr. Reed's mentees. I really like the work that he's doing in the from a development standpoint. So I'm really happy to be a part of the community REIT and also a part of this podcast so we could talk about our people and so on and so forth. A little bit about my background. I am in tech, cybersecurity. Um, got a bachelor's and a master's in cybersecurity, and I'm currently pursuing my PhD in strategic leadership. So you hear Mr. Reed say from time to time, or even the audience, that I get too strategic. So it comes from that.
I gotta watch you two.
But
Courtney,
I yeah.
go ahead, Sam. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
All right, all good, Mr. Reed. I was just getting ready to say I can tell this is going to be a very interesting conversation, and I know everybody that's going to be watching is going to like it. Because Mr. Reed is excited about development, and we have another development professional on the podcast today, so it's going to be great.
So the first thing I want to ask you, Courtney, is to explain to the people what construction management and project management are, and what are the differences.
Yeah,
It's
so
not an easy question either. Go ahead.
I was about to say, yeah. So I was just explaining it in this from this standpoint. I should also include I was an adjunct professor teaching quality management and construction at SMU. So this is one of the topics that we go over, the different types of profiles that you can have for construction projects. I think the main difference, in simplest terms, is a construction manager has an active hand in the physical built environment of the projects. They're the ones that are determining who will come work on the project, which trade partners will be involved, and they're responsible to make sure that the project goes from the printed environment blueprints or drawings to what you see in a built environment once it's constructed. Now, the project management, sorry, was considered program management is more so an overarching view of a program. So I'll take DFW Airport for instance. They have multi-million dollar, billion-dollar projects going on. So a program manager or a project manager would look at the overall blueprint of maybe a handful of those projects. How's it all working with a bond program or a really big pot of money, and how are those projects being done successfully, and from a financial perspective, but also from a scheduling perspective, logistics, all of those things. As opposed to a construction manager, they would probably be only assigned to one of those projects, and they're going to be the ones doing the day-to-day operations, putting the rebar in place, making sure everything's being inspected properly, and things of that nature.
Okay. Okay, that's a very good answer. She was prepared for that, I tell you. Very good answer. I hope your audience get that. Again, construction management, project management is something that I'm excited about, and I don't believe enough of us are involved in it. When my father was younger, my father, if he was living, would be about 80 years old. There were a lot of minority or black people, I'll say the Afro-Americans, in construction management, project development. And since then, we've been removed. I think I want to take the opportunity to promote it. I think it is an amazing field. I think it's a sophisticated field. To see something go from essentially dirt to being a stabilized structure is an amazing feeling. And to see the team, like Courtney said, put the team together, see the team work together, and see something built is an absolute amazing feeling. To me, there's no greater feeling than that. We were the first company to build a football stadium in the state of Texas, right there in Beaumont, Texas. We were the first company to build a hospital in the state of Texas. Black-owned company, right, in Houston, A-Leaf area. First to build a clinic, right? There are other people that have worked on football stadiums, not built one or managed one. So I'm very proud of those stats. And again, we're going to stop bragging ourselves, and we're going to get into the questioning of Miss Courtney. I've been looking forward to this date, so I'm going to let Solomon do all the questioning, because I might go into too much detail. We might talk for a couple of hours. So go ahead, Solomon. Take it away, brother.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Reed. I think before we get too deep into the questions, the first thing that I think the audience and myself would like to know, Miss Kelly, is what got you into the construction space?
Yeah, so it was actually Hurricane Katrina. Prior to Katrina, I wanted to be a vet. We grew up in New Orleans with horses and chickens, everything but goats. My dad wouldn't let me get goats. So I thought I was going to be a vet and take care of animals. And that's the trajectory that I was on. But somewhere along the lines, when we were evacuating from Katrina, something didn't really sit right with me, and I started questioning why were we having to evacuate? Why were the levees not better prepared and reinforced? And my parents put me in STEM camps after that, right? So a lot of people know about STEM, but science, technology, engineering, and math. And they intentionally put me in camps titled like REHAMS at Louisiana State University, Recruitment into Engineering of High Ability Minority Students. So at these programs, I would be exposed to different types and facets of engineering, mechanical engineering and electrical, and they'd take us to the ExxonMobil plant and we'd have to give presentations on those things. But what really stuck with me was civil engineering. We do experiments where we had to put together a bridge made out of toothpicks and tape or some odd combination, and you test it to see what kind of capacity it could hold and whose can stay up the longest. So those activities and that exposure really allowed me to connect the dots. So I went into the idea of civil engineering thinking that if I can figure out civil engineering and I can learn what it is that I can be taught through that, maybe I would one day grow up and help the city of New Orleans. So I got to SMU, decided to study civil engineering and math, but I realized that I didn't really enjoy the design portion of things. In my classes, they would try to harp on design, and I'd be like, oh, what about construction? They'd be like, oh, simmer down, kid. So I really didn't make that turn from being a true, what would traditionally be considered a civil engineer, someone that does design of different structures, to being in construction management until I interned at the Department of Public Works for the city of New Orleans. And it was that summer that I was like, all right, no, I want to be the person, boots on the ground. I want to wear the hard hat and the vest, and I want to actually work in a built environment. Fast forward, I got my first real internship at a construction company. During the interview, the guy said, do you want to design or do you want to build? I said, well, I want to build. He said, all right, you're in the right spot. And that's how I started.
What company was that?
That was at Reyes Group. It's a underground utility trade partner based locally here in Dallas. Now they do a lot more things than when I first started out, but that was where I got my first start.
Nice, nice. That's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. I know, Mr. Reed, I know you. I think from conversations that we've had before, that you also worked doing a Katrina. I just want to know if you've crossed paths with anything that had to do with civil engineering and construction back then as well.
No, at that time, actually, I was in a strategic relationship with Shaw Group. So we were going around to all the government buildings remediating. Yeah, it was. I didn't have any gray hair until Katrina. It was a very stressful time. It's the first time that I ever saw a dead body. I don't know if you know this, Solomon. I'm originally from Louisiana myself. Probably about an hour and a half from New Orleans. And to go back to me was exciting, again, because I already had lived in Houston. But at the same time, it was extremely stressful. But actually, that was the birth of Dalamar. Going to New Orleans and actually, the first thing I can tell you is this. I got to see how government shouldn't work during Katrina. I got to see how a government without the right assets, I got to see capable people in my home state rise up. A lot of minority companies came out of Katrina. And I was able to help a lot of those people. Something about Louisiana, if you don't know anybody from Louisiana, it's hard to work in Louisiana. So the fact that I was from Louisiana, that helped. So again, it brings back a lot of memories, but I'm glad you brought that up because that's how really I became Mr. Reed. So building a football stadium and all this other, and before, initially I was just another construction manager. Okay. But when you step out and you say, hey, look, I want to do my own thing, then you have to prove it without all the company's assets. That's different. It's not just about carrying insurance and all of the necessities it takes to run a construction management company. It's about, do I know what I'm doing? And I know Courtney and you both know this. Getting out of school is one thing, but getting the project done and it's your responsibility is an entirely new thing, another thing. So I I hate that Katrina was a big tragedy. Probably one of the most tragic things that I've ever suffered through, but I'm glad I got the opportunity to suffer through it because I don't think I would have become me. I don't think I would have had the boldness and the attitude to start my own company. So, Courtney, you
Nice.
didn't know that. Not a word of y'all do that. So, but yeah, that's where I'm from.
Yeah, and
All right, man, get to the question.
we're about to strike the 20th anniversary of Katrina. Um, so I think it's kind of timely, right? Looking back 20 years from then to where you are now. And to your point, how Katrina, it was a horrible experience to go through, but the lessons that were leveraged to allow you to be who you are today.
I will tell you this, and this is just a side note. I've seen things that I didn't know Mother Nature could do. Um, testament to structural construction too. It's the first time, Courtney, I ever saw a structure completely out of the ground, stabilized from foundation. I'm like, wait, they're doing something right out here because that's the first time I ever seen anything like. I didn't know it was possible. I mean, unfractured, anything. It was just out of the ground. And what happened is, underneath, I know Courtney knows, is that water pushed it up out of the ground. And it was just beautifully placed house, just, out of the ground. So, yeah, I saw things there that I never was. I saw, unfortunately, Mayor Nagin walking around with a beard this full, and he's usually pristine. I knew him before, right? Um, it was a stressful time. If I'm going to be honest, and I know that he's gone through some things, and I don't know the necessity of what took place with him, but I will tell you this: that guy really did a good job for what he could do, and what he was capable of in that city at that time. I'll give him, my respect for that, because he had nothing to deal with. Literally, we were in a meeting, and he told us, "We don't have any money. The banks own the city. Shut up and just do what the banks tell you to do." I don't know anybody bold enough to say something like that, but he said it. So,
So,
anyway, we don't want to start crying, so let's talk about something else.
yep.
So,
So, all right. So, I think we should shift that direction over to the book. Courtney, if you don't mind telling us, what was your provocation for the children's book, and what are some concepts that are in there that young people can learn, and where can we get our hands on this book?
Well, you're shifting kind of back to Katrina. So the book is based on my life, and little Celeste is growing up in New Orleans, and Katrina hits, so she has to evacuate. So she becomes a civil engineer to save the city of New Orleans from flooding. And the solution in the book is by protecting the wetlands through the use of barrier islands. So barrier islands, they're currently present along the coast of Louisiana, but over time they have eroded, and also our wetlands have eroded. So I look back on the timeline of Katrina, and the wetlands was the first kind of domino to fall. The wetlands had been eroded years prior, so when the water came in, it immediately hit the levee system. Those failed and buckled, and then you have the resultant of Katrina. And so that's the first book, Celeste Saves the City. In my second book, Celeste Tunnels Underground, Celeste moves to Dallas, which is where I currently live, and she does an underground tunnel to help with traffic congestion. And so she travels the world, looks at projects in Germany and in Switzerland and in Mexico, and then comes back to Dallas and takes the kids through the different processes that are used to go from when a tunnel boring machine bores through the earth all the way up to when the tunnel is open for traffic and for people to use it. And so both books really try to teach kids that it's okay to have a girl in charge of a construction project, that it's okay to have a career in construction, that you can do hard things and you can learn from adversity and propel your life to do things that help your community. Um, Both of the books are available in different languages, so they're both in English, German, and Spanish, and Celeste Saves the City is
wow.
available in French. They're both in hardcover and paperback, as well as audiobook in English. And as of right now, sold over, I almost have my spreadsheet up. I think I've sold over 5,250 copies, something like that, across 15 different countries.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So you're affecting people everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and if you want to check out the books, they're available through my website, CourtneyKellyBooks.com, but they're also available all over the world. You can just look for Celeste Saves the City, and then whatever country you're looking for the books in, and it should pop up.
Nice, yeah. So, Mr. Reed, did you have anything you wanted to add? Any questions before we dive over to the next?
No, I don't. Thank you. Not right now.
All right. All right. So let's talk DEI. With the current implications of the removal of DEI, what tools do you suggest that Black men and women, for them to implement in order to bypass the BS, pretty much?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult right now, not only for individuals, but also for organizations because there's so much red tape. And I've been drawing a parallel between the environment that we were living in during COVID, and not to diminish the tragedy of COVID, but in terms of the one's need to constantly be up to date on what is the latest and greatest policy and how is it going to impact the person, how is it going to impact the organization. And also it's different in different geographies, right? Like in Dallas, we have different rules than maybe the folks in New Orleans are dealing with because we have different governments and all of the things that come with that. So I'd say first and foremost, you need to be educated on what is the latest and greatest and how it's going to impact you. And understanding when things are truly something that you need to be paying attention to and guarding against, and what things you can kind of just neglect for the moment, but also make sure that you just stay abreast as things change.
That's a
I
very
think
good
the
question. Go
yeah.
ahead, Claire.
I think the next thing is really tapping into your network and finding out what are other people doing. So I was on a panel, I think it was last weekend, talking about the book industry. And I'm a self-published author, so I have a little bit more leeway than published authors. So we were talking about book bans and how if I try to release Celeste Save the City, for instance, at this time there's a traditional publisher, they might take pause because it's a Black female character. And yes, she's talking about STEM, but the first thing people recognize is going to be that she's a Black female character. And there's a potential that might lead to the book being banned. So I think having those relationships and being able to talk to people who are hearing different things, involved in different organizations, and being able to collaborate with them and say, hey, what is your insight and how can I navigate through this and help you or help me? I think that's super important. Also to realize that you're not trying to go through it on your own. I'd say the next thing is you have to be able to market yourself in a way that when people say DEI, you can say, yeah, I definitely earned it. So that's something that I'm working on right now. Increase your network, increase your net worth. Presentation that I'll be delivering at the National Society of Black Engineers Professional Development Conference in New Orleans at the end of August. And one of the things I'm really going to harp on is that if you look at my resume, you can't really challenge, all of the accolades that I've gotten or the position that I'm in right now. So I encourage others to do the same. You just mentioned that you're getting your PhD in strategic leadership or strategic management. When you have a degree, there's not a whole lot people can say about it. And by using those tools, right now AI is really big. Get a certificate in AI. Go out and try to make sure that your resume is top notch so that when they see it, regardless of whether you're Black or not, they can't deny you. And I know that's being said with a lot of weight on it, and I understand the ramifications of just your name being used against you and applying for jobs. But I really think that that's been a game changer in my life, just being able to say, look, if I was anybody else, looked any different, had a different name, you still wouldn't be able to say anything about it. So I try to encourage other people to get to that point in whatever their career field is. And if you can't, then you have to figure out what are your differentiators. If you're being stacked against somebody else, what is the change that you can bring to the table? What is the addition? What is the leg up that you can use to propel yourself in front of the crowd and to make sure that you still get the contract despite the fact that you're a minority or despite the fact that you're a woman? That those two things are just at the bottom of the list. That's not the reason why you're invited to the table. You're invited for your credentials and you just happen to be Black or you happen to be a woman.
I love it. That's an amazing question, Solomon. That's a question on steroids. That's
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, I like that.
Loaded questions. And so another direction that I kind of, because you hopped on the whole being a black person, I kind of want to touch on the next question, which is, what do you attribute to your success as a black woman in the construction space? And what can you tell to young black men, and young black women that are seeking to get in the position and achieve the things that you have?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with my upbringing and also my mindset. So ever since I was little, as early as I can remember, my parents told me I'd be the first black president of the United States. So Barack Obama stole my thunder, but that's okay. There's still a chance I could be the first black woman, right? So I grew up with that mindset that I can kind of do and achieve whatever it is that's put in front of me, or wherever my aspirations lie. But also, part of it is growing up in New Orleans. Part of it, my parents are pretty tenacious and ambitious themselves. So I don't really take no for an answer to a lot of things. And also, I put blinders on and I try to follow my own path. So I like to think that I'm in a race by myself, that I'm not in competition with anyone. But I set my stakes pretty high, and I don't say goals, I challenge myself with a lot. So to that aim, there are certain things that I can control, but then there's the other aspect that I just can't control, right? I can't control who's on the other end of the table when it's time to do promotions and negotiate salaries and all of those things. But what I can do is try to make sure that I don't allow myself to be devalued, or allow myself to be put into a position where I'm worth less than I'm actually worth. So whenever I come against those different challenges, I try to kind of dig back and dig deep, sorry, and just think like, what can I do in a situation to propel myself and to also open up the door and keep it open for the next generation. So to the second part of your question, I won't say that being in the construction industry is easy. I'd say that because I'm a woman, there are different things that I'm faced with, like maybe this was 2 months ago. I was in the elevator. I happened to be by the button, so I asked the gentleman when he got on the elevator, which floor are you going to? And he commented something along the lines of like, "Oh, it's kind of nice to have an elevator attendant now." And it's just like, if I wasn't who I am, if I was younger, if I would know to just like
Yeah.
pass it off and not let it phase me,
Yeah.
that might have made me second guess my career choice. But I knew the industry I was getting into. I went to SMU, where I was one of 500 black students on a campus of 11,000 when I first started there. So I'm kind of used to it. I've kind of been tried and tested in this field, and I understand that their ignorance does not dictate my success, or my achievements, or where I'm supposed to be and where I'm supposed to go. So it takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of determination. It comes from all sides. It's not just people who don't look like me. It's people who look like me. It's women. It's men. People at different hierarchies of the organization. But you really have to know who you are and know where you're going, and be able to compartmentalize and not let those things phase you. And I'd say also surround yourself with an army of people who are going to support you and push you through it.
Right.
Not every day is going to be easy, and sometimes things happen that you really need to work through. But that happens at a lot of organizations. So I won't say that that's just a construction specific thing. I like to say all companies are circus. It's a matter of, is it Cirque du Soleil or is it a dog and pony show? And it falls somewhere in between. So I can't tell you how much of what I've gone through is purely from being in construction, but I will say that you kind of have to have thick skin to get through it. Just the stress of the job site, the rigor and demands of the projects, and then all of these other things that stack on you when you're a minority or when you're female.
I'll say what, excuse me, Solomon, if you don't mind. I'll say that I believe it's important also to have people that look like you as your fence, or like, as you stated, surrogates. You have to have people to tell you, what's coming. I had a guy, or had two guys. One is the largest. He owns the largest black-owned engineering firm in Houston, and another guy who's since passed. But you think you understand construction, but you don't understand any business until you get in it. Okay, I don't care what it is, what school you went to, and so I experienced a lot of the stuff that Courtney did, and then I'm a bigger, African American guy. So people look at you different. They're always attempting to poke the bear. you have to be careful also what you tolerate and what you don't tolerate. Okay, you can't tolerate everything, because if you can tolerate everything, so I would say you have to have a line, but unfortunately that line defines how much money you're gonna make. I'm gonna be honest. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you work internally for an organization, whatever line you draw, you know, and I think when you have more, you have the qualifications that Courtney discussed, but when you have those surrogate people around you, and you guys have discussions, I think that strengthens you, right? That gives you some velocity. Unfortunately, when I was coming through corporate America, there were a lot of weird minority black situations where we always felt like we were competing with each other. Now, I didn't, but a lot of people do, and that's unfortunate, because other communities like the Latin community, they pull each other through. That wouldn't be there's no one in the world that could have accomplished so much so fast without pulling one another through. So I feel like we need to do the same thing, and I believe that's one of the reasons, Courtney, I really started mentoring. First of all, I've always had a mentor since I'm 30. I'm mentoring people since I'm 30, but now I have 250. Okay, but the thing about it is, everything you said is what I teach them. Okay, processes. Having thick skin. You know, there is no excuse. Once you make your mind up and say you want to accomplish something, keep pushing. And so it's delightful to hear everything that you're saying, and I hope our audience take advantage of the questions that Solomon is asking, but more importantly, how are you expounding on them? Because there's a lot of information in what you're saying. And again, I thank you a lot for coming on. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I had to jump in there. I like everything she said.
Oh yeah, no worries, Mr. Reed. It's good that you expounded on that, and you mentioned one thing that stuck with me: fences. I want to know. I know the audience want to know. So how were you able to overcome your fences, and how were they able to help you to achieving the things that you have in life? And I know before you answer, I kind of want to break down fences, what it is, so the audience can understand. So when we talk about fences, we're talking about the odds that a successful person has to overcome, the support system, the group of people that they have, the possessions that they have, that they're taking with them to going through their journey. So that's the synopsis of it.
Well, for me, if you ask the question, I didn't grow up with the fence that Courtney had. I grew up with a broken fence. I grew up with people that were causing trauma instead of removing it. I grew up with people that didn't believe in me. I grew up in what they call it the projects in our community, but it's actually called a project. But fortunately, I had a mother that was driven, and I had a father that was driven. Okay. And at a young age, I saw them move us into a 3-bedroom brick house, and which was essentially right around from the project, but at the same time, it was an entirely different life. You know, when I start becoming successful, there's always a story that companies want to hear. They want to hear that you were poor, and I always tell them the first thing I say, Courtney, is I didn't grow up poor. I had 3 televisions, I had Ataris, I had, at the time HVAC or air conditioning wasn't a big thing, all that, right? But at the same time, I had parents that were broken, okay? Like a lot of us have, they were broken people, so they added that brokenness to me. So my father came to God, okay? He had a come to God moment. And he brought me with him. And I learned so much from my father about overcoming. To when my father died, I remember he said, I'm ready to pass. And this is how much he taught me never to quit. I'm like, I almost thought, is my father quitting? It was amazing to me. But that just showed me how much pain he was in. But that he taught me to be resilient. And To answer your question, Solomon, for me, I had to learn through my relationship with God that I had to rebuild my fences. Okay? I had to practice, I had to remove myself from my family members that didn't believe in me. I had to remove myself from my friends that didn't believe in me. You know, I had to remove myself from even closer family members that didn't believe in me. And I started putting together, you know, as you move forward, you identify processes and how you do things, right? I was talking to somebody today about it's good to have internal processes, but if you don't write them down, you don't know how to mitigate them and how to troubleshoot them, right? I started writing the process, how I succeeded. When I would do a project, I remember there's a big time contractor in Houston. I'm not going to say his name, but and actually he's in Dallas too, but he's from Houston. He brings me in his office one day, and he says, "Juan, I had this amazing software. You know, I'm going to sell it for $100 million." And essentially, all he was doing, Courtney, was recording all the projects he was doing. So if he did a school in South Dallas or wherever, right, he'd go through the whole process. He'd take all the information, he'd upload it. And I told him that, and he got mad at me, like, okay, because he thought he was doing something amazing. Well, I had been doing that since I've been doing projects. Now, I didn't have the database and all that, but I had been doing those things. But what I started doing is identifying people that I wanted to be involved with. And first of all, I had to set myself, what kind of man do I want to be? And you start looking for those kind of men like you want to be, right? And they become, before you know it, you're around men with character and integrity and that believe in God and take care of their families and are extremely focused. Solomon, you hear me say this all the time as my mentee. Never hang around a man that gossips. Never hang around a man that gossips. He doesn't have anything to do. He has time to talk about other people. Courtney and I both know, and I made a joke with her a long time ago where, and I don't know if you remember this, but I think you were telling me you're going down to New Orleans to visit. And I said something about, tell those guys sitting on the corner, sitting on the couch. I said hello, because it's a thing in Louisiana to take old couches and sit on the corner and just, hang out. And I joke about that, but a lot of men do that because they have the wrong fences. They don't have people around them that hold them accountable. I have friends that tell me, I thought you said we were going to do this by the end of the year, Juan. We keep each other accountable. So that's the first thing I did. I started rebuilding my fences. I cultivated my relationship with God. I identified a woman that had God in her life, but more importantly, she had character, she had integrity. She knew what I didn't know. Again, they say that opposites don't attract, but you want somebody that's different than you. Because you don't want somebody, what benefit is the world and your relationship or your situation with two of you? I know two of me, Courtney, would drive me crazy. So I had to get somebody opposite of me, and that gel for me. But again, friendships, building your fence, having people around you that hold you accountable. My mentees hold me accountable. It's like I told my children when they were small. Whatever I tell you I can't do, you can't. Whatever I tell you you can't do, I can't do the same thing. And I remember my son telling me while I was in a meeting, I was verbalizing something with procrastinate, I was cussing. So my son comes up on the stage, Courtney, and he pulls something. I said, "What's boy?" He said, "Remember, Dad, you can't cuss." I'll never forget that. So it's about accountability and building those fences around you. So anyway, I was kind of long-winded, but Miss Courtney is the star of this show, but I had to elaborate a little bit. Thanks you for asking me that question and interjecting me, Solomon.
Yeah, so I was just going to pick up where he left off, and I'll start off with a story. In January of 2020, I decided to get my MBA. It was going to be online, and basically I'd be doing a new class every 8 weeks. It's an accelerated program. So if you remember, in March of 2020, COVID hit.
Yep.
So I was getting my MBA, working full time at DFW Airport. Our projects didn't stop because of COVID. We were down for 2 weeks because it rained for 2 weeks, and that was it. And so, in the midst of the temperature checks and the sanitation stations and 6 feet, distancing, all of those things, I was managing that. It was a $28 million project. I had just started a small business baking treats for rabbits. So think about like dog treats, but for rabbits. And
Okay.
I was in the process of finishing Celeste Saves the City, my first book. So my fences are basically what got me through that. I thought that I was going to quit MBA school. I tried about 5 or 6 different times. And there are people who have been a part of my life who have guided me and strengthened me when I just couldn't see how I was going to make it through. For the large part, that's my family. My immediate family is super, super supportive, especially my parents. My little sister, she helps me out a lot. And also my extended family, very big supporters of everything that I do. But also, I've come to build family where I am here in Dallas and also around the world with people that I've met recently. Some of them I've known since college. But I will say it's true that it's kind of lonely at the top. I've known people who were friends with me when I first started writing my book who were not friends with me by the time I got my book released, and that was a 2 year process. But I'd say through that, you find out who's really for you and who's just along for the ride, or
That's right.
who's really for you in one instance, but then when you get to the proverbial mountaintop or whatever they think is your mountaintop, they start to fall off the wagon because their view of you changes.
That's exactly
So I'd
right.
say it's important to realize that your fences will change over time. Some people will stay a constant and it'll be with you through thick and thin for years on end, and some people are just there for a season. And I think that part of what's made me successful is my ability to not lean on that and to not rely on those people who were just supposed to be in my life for a short period of time that I wanted to be in my life for longer, but that just wasn't the plan.
That's right.
And so I think about my friend in Germany. We met over cheesecake one night and kind of became BFFs after that. And I can tell her about anything. She's super supportive. And she just gets me and understands me in ways that some people who have known me even longer don't really understand me. So I think that's important too. Finding people who really know you as a person and
That's right.
who don't just respect the image of you that they may see on LinkedIn or on Instagram, but realize that you go through difficulties and you go through struggles, and they're okay with that, and they're okay with sitting with you in that, and allowing you to be vulnerable and to work through that with them, knowing that you'll be back to your usual self in a couple of days or a matter of time, but that you're not going to always be pristine and perfect. And I think that the people around me allow me to do that. They allow me to have my bad days and not be the person that's always picking up and encouraging everyone and being everybody else's cheerleader or being
That's
at
right.
the front of the pack and being a leader all the time.
That's right.
So I think that's really crucial to just have a good group of people with you that are going to be by your side through thick or thin, and then I also celebrate with all of them. If I do something big, people know about it. I try to incorporate them into it. I try to take them along with me as long as I can and as far as I can. So I call it the Beyonce effect, right? It's me on the stage, but everybody and their mama coming with me. It's to some certain
I love
extent.
it. I love it. She had to beat me, didn't she? She jumped in there. She went, look,
Whatever.
look, I'm taping this, so I'm taking part of that, what she just said. That's good stuff, Courtney. I love it. I love it.
That's that's good stuff. That's good stuff. While both of you were speaking, I'm just sitting here thinking because for me personally, I've experienced both to a point where I think I can always take somebody with me. But I also find myself in a situation where I have to step back and realize the moment that I'm in, who needs to come with me. If I need to go by myself, if I need to go by myself and be lonely, like you mentioned at the top, if that's the price I got to pay to get up and learn the processes and get to where I want to be at, then so be it. Because the more we go up, the more smaller the triangle gets. But when we get
Yeah,
up top, you see that there are also other people that have paid the price to get to where you need to be at.
exactly right.
And if your pack is willing to come with you, if they're willing to support you while you go up there, we also have to understand, especially in our communities, that not everybody's gonna make it to the top. and we have to come to terms that we need to support one another when we're going up there. Because we all have different times. Today could be my day, tomorrow your day. I want to be able to applaud you while you're on your way to the top.
I love it.
You know, same way that I
Love it.
want you to applaud me on our way to the top.
That's right.
So it's
I love it.
it's
Hey man, y'all showing out now, man. I'm customarily the one that elaborates philosophically or pines, but you guys are pining. I love it. I love it. Keep pontificating. I love
Using all of
it.
these big words, huh?
Oh no, I love it. I love it. I love philosophy, man. I'm gonna tell you. All right, Solomon, let's keep going. I want to.
Yep,
I got some other explanations I want to hear. I want the audience to hear it from Miss Court.
Yep. So I'm just gonna. This was just side questions that we added to, added to the questions that we're gonna throw at you. As Black people, we think that white people created money. So our goal is also to teach Black people that white people did not create money, but they just invented clever ways to get to the money and access it. So from your experience, what are some mindset changes that we need to make in our community to start thinking that white people did not create money? We can also have access and create our own access.
Yeah, so I have to say, I've never really heard of that expression. And I think that part of it is probably my upbringing. So in my household, before it was known as like gig economy or a side hustle, my parents always had a career and they had like other things that they were doing, entrepreneurial endeavors. So for instance, my dad drove trucks during the day as an 18-wheeler driver, and he also became a farrier. He went away for a week and a half to farrier school in Oklahoma. So he learned how to shoe horses, how to trim their hooves. So I never knew this. I never was aware of the concept of kind of not being able to have access to money. I knew you just had to hustle. And that's kind of how my parents did it in whatever industry or whatever facet of business that they were into. So my mom, for instance, she operated after-school tutoring programs, but then she also sold Watkins products. So she had a cart in the at a mall that I don't know if they still have those
Man.
anymore, but I'm assuming they do it at malls. Back in the day, they used to have the kiosk in a mall, and
Yep.
different people would be vendors there.
Yep.
I'd go with her to trade shows, and so I'd say for one thing, we need to change our mindset. Money is still money is still money, and as long as there are consumers, we need to figure out how to tap into the consumer, whether that's a business to customer, like me selling my books to an individual, or it's a business to business relationship and I'm selling my books to another bookstore or something along those lines. We need to tap into what do the customers need and how can I fulfill that need? Because
So
at the
so
end of the day, go ahead, Juan.
so Courtney, let's say this, okay? Um, there's a mindset, even for people that work for other companies. And I'm going to use development as an example. You and I both know how developing a subdivision works. Okay? You have a guy that owns some land, and they all have names. Some in Dallas, some in Houston, some in New York. These names have friends. They go to college, they graduate from college, they say, hey, I want that plot of land you got. I have a community that I want to put there. So the guy sells the land to the guy for $1 because he can't give it to him. That's not how it works. He sells him the piece of property for $1. Well, really, he's leasing it. The property estimates $10 million, right? He goes to the city and he says, I got a $10 million plot of land that I want to use, and I want you guys to put the utilities on it. Now, what comes in there? Taxation and bonding, right? Because he has somebody else on the city council. The city council puts a bond out because why? This brings jobs. People want to move here. They're excited. I got 1,000 names on the list. Blah blah blah. Right? So the city bonds the people for bringing in the subdivision that they're not. Well, obviously they're going to tax the people that live there, but they're not going to. They're going to front the money, basically. Okay. So when you look at that entire perspective is legal, okay? Most people don't know that process that aren't you and I, right? So they think this guy just got rich, No, he didn't. He was connected to a landowner who owned the land, who leased it to him. It was for the lack of a better term, a strategic partnership. Would you agree, Court?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when things like this happen, you and I know it. But the normal person don't realize that. So when I say things like there are legal names to things, bonds, letters of credit, all these different things that I hear a lot of online podcasters talking about in separate mechanisms. And I hate to say it, but people like all of us on here now and our followers, they're looking at them like, okay, that's an LLC, okay. I mean, all these documents separate. They mean nothing separate. They mean everything together because they're just little pieces. In order to make money, you have to build a tool to get money from people. So when Solomon's asking that question, that's really what he's talking about. And what I've found, and partly while I'm writing a book, and I'm going to have Miss Courtney read that book before I finish it. Well, it's actually finished. Black people believe there's a structure that exists. And of course, prejudice, racism exists, right? But nobody is stopping black people from taking money out of their own pocket, putting it together, right? And getting money from a community or whatever, okay? They understand how to flip a house, but they don't understand on a large scale how to create access to money. When you hear people talk, and it's just unfortunate, people take advantage of people. Oh, I went to the bank and they wouldn't give me a loan. Okay, well, what do you have that's worth a loan? What idea do you have? What plan do you have? I used to say this all the time. I was fortunate, Courtney, that when I moved from Denham Springs as a kid to Beaumont, Texas, to grow up with a lot of powerful lawyers. Okay? One of them actually went to your school. They almost put his name on the stadium, but he left and he went to Baylor. Now he's on Baylor Law School, right? He opened doors for me, right? Never gave me a dime, but opened the door for me. And we're fortunate to have people like me, you, and Solomon tell the truth of our stories. I think that's one of the problems. People don't tell the truth of their stories, specifically black people, how they succeeded. I don't know why they don't. But, first of all, you got to have somebody open the door for you. You got to have somebody, honestly, Courtney, who likes you. Okay, I like you. You're skilled, you're valuable, but I like you. And then when you get access to something, share it with other people. But in black people's mind, they think two things. I'm going to become a billionaire. And I'm like, okay, this is the question that they hate from me. And Solomon will tell you, how are you going to do it? When I tell them that, you know what they give me, Courtney? A business plan. I'm like, dude, that is not going to get you $1 billion. That's not going to get you $10, right? I could go to the bank even younger and say, Mr. Such and Such sent me here. But still, that's not enough. How do you strategically put this together, son? How do you take the thing that you have that's valuable and in this moment make it valuable to a particular group of people? Because you got to have your people, right? You got to have a following. Like we build hotels now. The hotels we build, Courtney, has followings. Okay? They have a flag that people follow. So when I brought that, and like what we're doing right now, people are like, okay, that makes sense. But what you don't realize, all I did is put together two valuable situations. Put myself in it, what I know, my experience, who I'm connected to. And then I said, well, take your money and invest in it. If you choose to. And then you're going to make money. And then I had to teach them about what assets are. Because assets are different in different environments. To a poor person, an asset is their check. To me, an asset is several hotels that I can leverage to continue to build hotels. Okay? Um, so that's, I think more, you're exactly right, Courtney. The ability to go out and hustle and generate money, right? It's the same mindset, but you'll never be able to develop, because what I really want to do, Courtney, this is really what I want to do. I want to develop a strong upper middle class black group. Because upper middle class is customarily not a job. It's a few jobs. But the guy that makes $1.5 million usually owns a company. He owns a small company, right? And I want to be able to take that and stabilize it. And so the community REIT, outside of my own company, Tranquility, is an opportunity to do that. To take a collective of people for a small amount of money and allow them to grow the upper middle class by developing several assets that have revenue flowing through them over years, and then giving them a net value of $13.8 million. For a small amount of money, 40,000, can you imagine 40,000, for the lack of a better term, rich black folk? That would change the trajectory. Just 40,000 people. It would change a lot of things. And so that's what I teach. I teach access to money. These are not unique, but this is the little thing you need. It might be a little thing that they're missing, Courtney, that they don't know how to generate. So that's more of the lines of the question that Solomon was asking. And I know you know that because, I mean, you're in it. You build things like you're building one right now. That's an asset to the young lady that owns the Sands, right? So, anyway.
Yeah, I'd say to that, you brought up a good point. I think there is a lack of knowledge around financial levers besides a checking account, savings account, maybe even like a high yield CD, right? The bond market, stocks, like those are kind of common terms, but I think that particularly when it comes to what you're talking about, real estate investing, it's not something new. It's something that we just haven't had access to or tapped into, even if we did have the funds to do it, right? Or setting up a family office. I've been around a lot of venture capitalists and founders and family offices. We weren't talking about family offices around my
No.
kitchen table.
That's
Neither
right.
are we now, right? But because I've been
Oh,
around
we
people,
are, but yeah. You're
yeah,
right.
yeah, because I've been around people who talk about, oh yeah, this family office and that family office. I'm like, well, what is
That's
this
right.
family office thing? How much money do you need to be a part of it, right? If I want to just tap into someone else's or have a conglomerate, or if I want to have my own family office and make it be a thing, right? So I think that we do need to somehow find a better way to educate, like you said, upper middle class blacks on how do you reach the next pinnacle of that financial literacy so that you can start tapping into these things that are already out there. We just don't have access to it, or we've never heard of it before. We haven't been exposed to it.
Generally tell the group what a family office is in the simplest terms.
Essentially, number one, you have to have a lot of money. But number two, that family office becomes an entity of its own that is allowed to make investments. It might be its own. Think of it like your own personal bank, the way that banks will take money and invest in it and do different things with it. Essentially, you're doing that with a private line of money from either one individual family or from a group of families. And the whole point
Yep.
is to try to protect the interests of that family and to grow wealth for that family. And so we talked about how generational wealth is passed down through insurance. If you have insurance plus a family office, I mean, you're
That's
set
right.
for generations on
That's
end,
right. That's
because it just
exactly right.
continuously is used to increase up and to the right, all of the wealth and assets that your family owns.
They really don't even spend any more money. They don't. They just keep moving the paper. So I'll talk a little about me, but when I made a little money, the bank called me, right? And when they called me, they was like, "Oh, Mr. B, want to come and talk with you." I didn't know that, generally Bank of America bought a private equity company, okay? And they have these lines. And what they do is they recruit your money for deals for private equity companies. So they may say something like, Miss Rita, you agree with this? We'll use your paper. They're not even using the real money. And as long as we can collectively sign off on this, we'll give you a percentage fee, right, for just using your money. So family houses go around; they never have to spend any money. They'll go to a mutual fund or a fireman's what do you call it, 401k. They'll talk to these people into using their money, right? Because they actually need generating funds. But because they have their own money, the money they have is simply a guarantee. But it's really not a guarantee because they're never going to use it. So they may be able to buy a $10 million property essentially for nothing just for having money, right? But then there has to be real money connected to it. It's a lot like, a better example would be, you know, this train that they're building from Dallas to Houston, Courtney, that they've never built, right? You know why it's not moving? Because the people hadn't agreed to pay for it. But when it happened, all these big time wealthy people in Dallas and in Houston, they put together a authority. The authority basically usually tells the people, hey, we got a bunch of rich guys over this, right? And honestly, that's how family houses work. When they hear the name of these people, they just assume the teachers' funds and the firemen's funds, oh, they got the money. So they say, well, yeah, you guys can use our money. And they may not make anything but a percentage on that. But the family house is going to make a lot of money. But one thing Courtney said that made a lot of sense, and you heard me say this, well, she said a lot of things that make sense, but it's a bank. It's a bank. A REIT is a bank as well. It's the same thing. It's a trust. So the reason I say that, Courtney, is because I explain, when I'm explaining the REIT, that's how I explain the REIT. It's a bank. And you keep building that bank, right? And as the assets grow, the value of the bank grows. So that's what we are with the community REIT. We've done a lot. We have thousands of people on board, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So anyway, I think we're all out of time. And look, it breezed by. Courtney, I have never heard you talk this much in my life, and it was amazing, girl. I mean, look, I got stuff I can take from here. Just amazing. I really appreciate you. Go ahead, Saul.
Oh yeah, I was just sitting here, just listening. I don't even know if you noticed, but I was taking notes. You see that? I'm sitting here taking notes. So I hope the viewers that are on watching, when this drops on YouTube, they can also take notes, because it's a lot of valuable information, a lot of it. And we thank you, Miss Kelly, for coming on. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you, Mr. Reed, for always having me on. Let's see, any last remarks or comments on your end, Miss Kelly, for our viewers, where they can find your book again, your website, and all that?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, guys. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. If you're looking for the books, you can find me at CourtneyKellyBooks.com. That's the website, or at Courtney Kelly Books on all social media. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn, Courtney Lynn Kelly, Lynn.
Thanks a lot, man. Also, we're going to be talking to Courtney about, as we move forward, I want everybody to know, because people that are in the community REIT watch this, hopefully we can get Courtney and her company, you know, can imagine a black-owned REIT and the largest black-owned construction company. That would be amazing to actually build our hotels. And actually we have 2 coming up, Courtney. So, yeah. So, let's see if we can make that happen. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of Miss Courtney. And
Yeah,
thanks a
that'd be
lot
great.
again, Courtney. You have a lovely day. Thank you for sharing your Sunday with us.
Thanks for having me.